Guys, you're never going to believe who I have here. This man is in transition, dude. Okay? You've seen him on the gram. You know him as Drama, okay? Chris, how do you pronounce your last name?
Paff.
Paff, okay? Yep. It's spelled with what?
P-F-A-F-F.
And what kind of name is that?
Scottish, German.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Scotland?
Nope.
I was just there, man. You can't even understand the people. They
Really?
were talking to me like, I'm like, this one Scottish dude keeps saying, he's like, the ghettos, where are the ghettos? And I'm like, what are you talking about, the ghettos? We don't buy ghettos. He's like, the girls.
Really?
But it sounded like
the
ghettos.
accent is just that heavy?
It's so heavy.
Man, like, I need to go.
Even the people in London can't understand it. So great to have you here, man.
Thank you, man.
I've been admiring your work.
Yeah,
seeing you, watching you from a distance.
Yeah.
Checking out the drama.
Yeah.
So right before we came in, I said, hey, do I call you Chris or Drama?
Yeah.
You want to just talk about?
Yeah, I was just telling you, like, I'm 32 years old now, and I got that nickname when I was 19, and it's getting a little weird to walk up to people and say, hey, I'm Drama. And they're always like, what? Your name's Jonna?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Drama, because you don't expect that. I'm a skinny white dude. So, it's just, I'm trying to decide where I'm going to go.
Yeah. And that's interesting to me because an entrepreneur and so much of what you do and help people with and give them the story of anybody can make it is in transition. Yeah. And I think you got a great story about transition in retail.
For sure. From
the reality thing. You want to just talk about what you've done with 3,000. I didn't know you were in that many stores.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd say the kind of long story short of it is, I grew up in Ohio. I was obsessed with skateboarding. That's all I wanted to do all day. And that's what initially led me to California. And my life dream was to work at a skateboard shop and live in a, at best, 1-bedroom apartment, like in the valley somewhere. That was my life dream because I just thought, man, I can skateboard all day. I can do whatever I want. I can drink beers.
How old are you at this time?
I mean, that was my life dream from probably 12 until I actually moved here and saw what was possible, right?
Yeah.
So quick little detour is at 18 years old, my plan was graduate high school. The next week I'm moving to LA, getting a studio apartment. I'm going for it. Well, that weekend after I graduated, I fell skateboarding, hit my head, was in a coma for 4 days, brain bleeding, fractured skull, and had a blood clot from the fractured skull, and they wouldn't let me leave. Wouldn't let me leave home because I had this blood clot, and they didn't know what was going to happen with that. And I mean, when I woke up from that coma, I couldn't read, I couldn't use a computer. It was the weirdest thing. But slowly it all came back. The problem was let's say all the way till November after my graduation, they said, look, the blood clot's still not gone, but we know how bad you want to go.
Who's saying this to you?
The doctor.
Okay.
And they said, you know what, just because I was going every 2 weeks for a CAT scan saying, is it gone, is it gone? They said, no, it's still not gone, but if you have seizures or pass out or whatever, then it's a problem and you got to come back. So that gave me a lot of anxiety, right? I moved to LA, this new big city from small town Ohio, and now every time you
Where in LA? Like where does you're 17?
I moved into Studio City.
Okay, why Studio City?
Because my cousin, so this will also add to the story, my cousin is a pro skateboarder, was a pro skateboarder. And I didn't know him growing up really, but I knew he lived out there and I knew that we had kind of a relationship. And I thought, well, at least if I go out there, maybe we can connect and maybe I can get in the skateboard industry. And so that's where I moved, was right around him. So I came from small town outside of Akron to there, and I'm looking around, and it feels like the biggest city in the world. And it feels
it's one of the biggest cities.
But if I'm driving around Studio City, I remember feeling like, what do I do? How do I merge? You
drove cross country?
No, I flew, but there was one time when my cousin said, you know what, take my car, get acquainted with where you even live. And I remember it was like a war zone in the streets. And we're talking Studio City, like the most mellow part.
Yeah.
And then I'm dealing with, every time I stand up too fast and get a little lightheaded, I think I'm about to have a stroke and die, right? So I just have this paranoia, but.
What's your money like at this time? Just so I understand where you're at.
So here's what I did. My big hustle when I was young was I learned how to film and edit skate videos because I would film my friends. I knew I wasn't good enough to be a pro skateboarder, so I'd film my friends, I'd make little videos on my computer, and then I would give them out to the friends. Well, I realized one time I went to one of my little cousin's Little League football games. I could sit there, film the football game, make a nice DVD that at that time was so hard to get with a nice cover and everything, and then come back the next week and sell it to the parents. So I was selling the parents videos of their kids playing football for the whole season. I was doing it for other teams. I gathered all of my graduation money, anything that I could get my hands on. I had $2,000. So when I came, I was like, I'm going to be good. like $2,000, I'm pretty much rich.
You
know, like we're you know, I'm pretty much set here. And obviously that ran out right away. And you know, that's where the story goes into, like, I'm looking around for jobs at skate shops and stuff like that. And my cousin came to me one day and his assistant had just quit. And he was kind of bummed out because he had just got everything ready to start with this new assistant. And the assistant's girlfriend said, you can either go work for him in LA or stay with me in San Diego, your choice. So he comes out into the kitchen. I was hanging out there that day and he's like, you know, my assistant just quit. I don't know what to do. He's like, do you want to be my assistant? I'm 18 years old. I'm like, I mean, I've never even seen an assistant in my life.
You don't even know what it is.
I don't know what that is. I was like, I can't even drive to the grocery store. I'm scared to death. So so I was like, look, I have nothing to lose. I might as well give it a shot. Worst case scenario, I'll stop and I'll go work at a skate shop like I was going to. So I did that, and that ended up being like the best, you know, decision of my life. That ended up being kind of that was almost my college. My cousin's very entrepreneurial. He's a hustler. And I just learned a lot. And I met a lot of people. And then I would go, you know, I'd meet this guy that he was starting a clothing line with. And I'd go learn from him. And I'd go learn from this guy and that guy and that guy. And that really started to build my network and really started to build my, like, even idea. Like I was telling you before we started recording, there was this moment, probably in the first 2 years of living out there, that I was like, man, all of these people doing insane things and successful things are just normal people.
Right.
Sure, they've been here much longer, they put in the work, all that stuff, but like I can talk to them. And that's when it really started to open my mind that like I can start a business. I can do something. I can, you know what I mean? Do something way beyond working at a skate shop.
But before we talk about, and I agree with you that, like, I grew up in a small town, Lake Charles, Louisiana. And when I moved, every move I've made has been good for me. Because I look around, I'm like, how did he get there? How did he do that? You know, when I'm in LA, I'm like, God, how did he do that? You know, because not everybody there's in movies. Like, there's other business people there. So what caused you to be that very tiny percent of people that leave Akron, Ohio in the first place? Because most people just stay in Ohio.
I just got to move. This is what I've learned about. So when you're that young, you're kind of just doing stuff. And then around your 30s, I think you start to audit and look at who you really are and what makes you tick and what's good and bad about you. And I think, you know, what it is I've learned I just need to grow and evolve and learn. And I just have to. There's something in me. And it's not even that tied to, sure, we all love financial success and we all love the big wins. But like, I'm talking like I've learned now that I need to read a little bit of a book every morning to get my day started and get some new information in there. You know what I mean? I have to get out of the house. I have to do something and be learning and growing.
So it's a survival thing. You think like you're compelled.
It makes just you feel like good. If I'm not moving forward, I lose it. I can't imagine like just sitting. And I think what made me choose LA, thank God, was skateboarding, because it's the skateboard capital of the world. But if it wasn't that, if I wasn't a skateboarder, I would have went somewhere. It's just, I knew like from age 12, the moment I turn 18, I'm out of here. And so that's what it was. It's just this.
So what was going on when you were 12? Was there something, like, was life troublesome or?
No, I think my life, you know, I also got to give it up. Like, my parents are incredible, right? And they're still together and they're so loving. And I can't claim too much of like super rough childhood. But growing up in a small town like that is rough no matter what way, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And the skateboarding way of life is very scrappy. There's no teams, there's no coaches. People are fighting at skate parks and that type of stuff is happening. And just naturally, even the good kids are stealing and getting in some trouble, right? You know, and I think that beyond all of that, it's just, you see that there's no hope for greatness, and take greatness lightly. You know, like greatness doesn't mean that much. But it's kind of like, man, I'm going to look around my high school for who I'm going to marry. I'm going to ask my parents for where I'm going to work. And my life's kind of...
Dude, I always say, like, to me, this middle class, because that's the middle class. There's like death in it. Because when you're poor, when you're like, I've had some buddies that were super, super poor. They have to get out. Like there's a threat. But when you're in a comfortable living, parents are good to you, got school, 3 meals a day. it's just, and if you have greatness, like if you have that desire to go do something.
Yeah.
So was that what was pulling on you?
Yeah, I think so.
Say I'm out of here at 18?
Yeah, I just can't sit, man. I can't sit. And I think around age 12, 12 is also when I got real into skateboarding. So that's when LA started to, be attractive to me. But I think, it was also when I started to wrap my head around like, man, there's something else going on outside of this town. And I don't want to marry any of these girls at my high school. And I want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be honest, what's crazy is one of the biggest things I fight is a little bit of like social anxiety. Or, when I left for California, I also don't want to pretend like I got on that plane and I'm like, I'm coming to conquer LA. I was scared out of my mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that first night in LA, I was scared out of my mind. And I thought, man, I might have overdone it. I might have went too hard and I might have to go back.
Right.
But that's what I've learned that's my resistance to my greatest progress, even now in life. Driving here, I was nervous. I was like, I don't know. You're just going into a situation. I walked into this building and I'm like, man, this is inspiring. Like, you don't learn or get inspired or take in this information. That's my biggest barrier. Yeah. Every time I feel that, I know I have to break through it, and that's what will lead to that growth that I crave so deeply. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the social anxiety, you still have that today. Yeah. You've been on TV. Yeah. Your clothing's in 3,000 stores. Yeah. I mean, you've had a lot of success at a guy your age. Yeah. And where do you think it comes from? This walking in, being a little anxious? Because I know I still, no matter where I go, I still have it.
Yeah. I do. I've really been trying to figure that out lately, and I think that's a big thing for me. And I'm going to tell you what my best guess is. Number one, I think a lot of people have it that just don't talk about it, right? Especially in the social media age, you're supposed to act as cool and tough and prepared
Everybody's
as possible.
Everybody's a baller.
Right. Yeah, and it's easy to do that on Instagram. I also think that, when I was younger, there were some times when I was afraid or whatever you want to call it, intimidated by a new situation. And sometimes my parents would let me not do it. And that, I think, I love my parents and they are amazing.
Not let you do what?
Let me back out of whatever it was.
Oh,
right? Let's say it's like a school function or something like that.
Yeah.
Man, I really don't want to do that. And the crazy thing about the skateboard lifestyle is you're kind of taught that everything's lame.
Yeah, totally.
It's very anarchist.
Me and Mike Taylor talked about that.
Yeah. And me and him talk about that a lot because it's like, man, you're almost taught not to succeed.
Yeah.
And because succeeding and
don't
get
rich, don't have money.
It's lame. To try is lame. And so I never went to school dances. I never went to any of that stuff. So I think that there were also times when skateboarding kind of reinforced my antisocial behaviors. Because to your friends, that's sick. Screw that football game. And then also I think that there were times when I was younger that let's say a school function or something came up and I said, Mom, I really don't want to go to that. And they'd be like, you know what, it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's great. And that's love and that's whatever. But I've noticed now one day when I become a parent, there's
you might
something
push into those.
It might not be tough love exactly, but something to say, hey man, you got to go break through that. Because now I've learned it. As an adult, I've learned that all of my greatest rewards and lessons and learning and inspiration come the moment I feel that feeling and push through it.
The fear, the uncomfortability.
There's something that your brain starts coming up with excuses. Mm-hmm. You just start saying oh man, do I really need to go to that thing? Or they're not really going to need me there. There'll be little events and stuff in LA. And I'll be like, come on, man, I can just connect with them on Instagram. Whatever. And oh crap, I'm doing it. That's the thing. And that's I almost know now,
it's a cautionary light now.
Yeah, but now when I catch it, I'm like, you gotta go.
You gotta go.
You caught
it's
yourself.
It's an indicator now that hey, I gotta.
Yeah. And that's every time, man. And when I started my podcast 2 years ago, I thought I'd been on TV for 10 years. I thought I can handle anything. Mm-hmm. I sat down for those first interviews and I was jammed up, man. You get that light sweat.
You were doing the interview?
Yeah.
You were interviewing others or they were interviewing you?
I was interviewing others.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing for me to do.
I know, and I didn't realize how much of a learning curve that was because I had been interviewed quite a few times. And you get that light sweat on you and you start thinking about oh man, I just need to run to the restroom. I just need to, I didn't plan enough. And it took me a long time to get out of it. It took me probably 6 months to stop worrying before I sat down for everything. Mm-hmm. But here's what happens now. Now, at worst, I'll feel man, I don't know if I feel like having that conversation today. I can reschedule this. And every time that the interview is over, I'm like, man, that was a cool guy or girl. I'm so glad I had that conversation.
Yeah.
And now it's led me to, in meetings and in going out and just meeting people for lunch, it's made all of that better. It's been kind of this practice for me or muscle building.
Yeah.
But every time, man, from a conversation to an event to a scary to skydiving, you feel that resistance, but every time that's where all the learning comes from.
So talk to me about, because you've had a lot of success in both retail, maybe not as much as the e-commerce.
Yeah.
So tell me about the transition,
Yeah.
because I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
What happened to you venturing out, like you did to LA, venturing out into retail?
Yep.
The break you got, and then how that turned out, and then the e-commerce pop.
Yep. So here's how that went. I'll give you kind of the packaged up version. Like so I had been doing these TV show things kind of, and I'm a smaller, like kind of side character. And I had seen my cousin make a lot of money off of his sponsors and stuff like that because they started paying him crazy.
Is that Rob?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he started, he had a deal with like DC Shoes, and they went from like paying him probably hundreds of thousands a year to like millions a year because now he's a superstar. So I see like, okay, this is what's happening, and we're using this to market that and whatever, my young brain, and
I can do this.
yeah, like I could do this, man. And so what happened was, getting to the point, eventually came the time, it was probably 4 or 5 years after, probably 4 years after starting to do TV. I was starting to be more of a character on these shows where I could even maybe carry a brand. And I just thought, man, if there's any time to launch whatever my goal is, I need to do it right now. So that idea was a clothing brand. It's called Young and Reckless. And I thought, you know what? I like clothing. I'm really into all of that stuff. Also, I could create a brand that kind of stands for everything that's bubbling up in my head right now about getting out of your comfort zone and about doing that. And I can highlight that. And the idea of building a brand was almost more fun than building clothes, if that makes any sense. And then I thought, well, I have this perfect platform right now. And at that time, there were these 3 retailers especially where all of our audience, MTV skater audience, was shopping, and that was PacSun, Zoomies, and Tilly's. So I thought, man, if I could just get in with one of them, create this brand, launch it on this show, we'll be good. I'll be rich. Yeah. And
you don't know at this point. You don't know anything about manufacturing, inventory, cash flow.
No. At this time, I know nothing. I know that that's a crazy dream. It would be really cool, and it seems like the hardest parts are kind of set up, right? Meaning, I can market to this audience. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
So I came up with the name Young and Reckless. I thought, man, I need to come up with something that when people wear it on their shirt, they actually feel some sort of way. Instead of calling it like, red chair clothing, and this is the coolest stuff in the world, right?
Yeah.
So came up with the name, came up with the logo, and I went out searching for business partners. And I just met with a bunch of people and told them my idea. And of course, my biggest problem was a lot of people saw this 21-year-old kid walk into their office that's on a reality show and like, come on, man, like this isn't a brand. This isn't where we're going to put our time. And I found these partners, and it just so happened they had been in clothing for 8 years before me, and it was the right time for them.
How'd you find them?
Just meeting after meeting after meeting.
Okay.
Just LA.
And who was setting up the meetings for you?
It was a combination of anyone who would introduce me to anyone, right? My cousin had relationships with DC Shoes and all that stuff. But this one came from my
agent, managers.
This one came from my cousin's manager. I was too small to have my own manager or agent, But my cousin's manager had went to high school, I believe, with these guys, and said, hey, you should meet them. And it was one of the last meetings, and they just got it. And the biggest thing was they were at the point with their business where they needed some extra cash flow, and they needed to go out and explore a little and stop just doing their core thing. And so it was perfect. And they understood the scrappiness that it would take, and they understood like this isn't an instant home run. This is something we're gonna have to really work on. And the big trick was, here's the big trick that I was kind of alluding to before we started filming is, so I'm on this show. Our only investment, because they weren't sitting on all this cash. There was no investors. Our only investment was a box of samples of the clothes for me to wear. And then I printed out a bunch of fake like line sheets, and I stuck them all over my wall so that you'd walk into my little office on TV and it would look like, oh, this is a real brand all of a sudden. And I wore the stuff all over the show, and I had a really good relationship with the editors at MTV. So I went and got the DVD as soon as the episode was edited. Got the DVD, we drove it down to Pacific Sunwear, and we said, look, this is about to be the next biggest thing in the world. And we'll give it to you exclusively for the next 6 months. but you have to buy it for all doors. And that's like 800 doors at the time. And I'm like, all my social media, all my everything, I'll say PacSun. I'll say it in the show. I'll say PacSun. And so they saw like, look, there's no loss here.
So in MTV, was MTV allowing you to do some of this stuff?
Yeah, and you want to know where we got really lucky on that is in the very beginning, that stuff got carved out because my cousin had so many sponsors. So he was doing episodes and stuff about he's a pro skateboarder. So like, we're going to go to this photo shoot for my sponsor, and MTV can't take a piece of that, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I got in, you know. So yeah, they allowed me to do it.
I mean, that's a big break right there, like
massive.
Yeah.
Massive. So we went down there. They bought it. They said, all right, we'll take it. I think there was no downside for them, right? It's like at the worst case, the thing bombs.
Yeah.
And I'm shouting PacSun all over everything, right? So they take it all doors. Here we go. We've timed it so that the episode airs, and the next day you walk into your local mall and there's Young and Reckless in PacSun. Like instant, it's over. My life has changed. The problem was, it wasn't that little thing, that little show and one guy on this show with his new brand isn't enough to sell at 800 stores across the country. It's just not. And so they bought it for all doors.
These were weekly shows, or
they were weekly, but it's not like every episode was me screaming Young and Reckless. You know, it was kind of little tied in. I'm still a sub character.
Yeah.
Just wasn't enough to, you know, that's real traffic walking into a mall in Illinois and someone grabs your shirt. So it didn't do well. It started tanking right away, and it started moving to the back of the store. That's what always happens, and it starts being on the floor in the back, and that's what always happens. Then you don't stand a chance.
Is there a return policy on this thing? Like, is there a commitment for you guys?
They don't. So them particularly, it depends. Were stuck. You know, different people do it. Yeah, they were stuck, but different people do it. And that was our first order. That was our first shipment. They knew we didn't have any way to even take it back, right? Pretty much if it didn't work there, there was no brand. It just didn't work. So what we did is it was sliding. And what we did is we kind of huddled up and we said, look, my goal was never to be a celebrity with merch. That sounds like the lamest thing ever to me. Just for me. I wanted to make a company and run a company in LA. I thought that was my new dream. And so I had to take myself out of it and stop being so out front, stop saying, oh, go buy Young and Reckless, and go do real marketing, and not only do it, but do it at lightning speed, because people already know you for this one thing. So to change the perception is even more difficult, right? And so we went out and I chased down every little actor, athlete, artist, anything, did the cell phone, please, man, just let me take a photo with the hat on. Thank you, so cool. Posted, it was right when Instagram started, thank God, another huge break. Check out blah, 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 wearing my hat. We went and did a big deal with the rapper Meek Mill right before he dropped his first album. Thank God that worked. His album blew up. He became a superstar. He's riding dirt bikes in the ads, real young, you know, it worked. We went and did a thing with Machine Gun Kelly. He's a real reckless guy. And it started, you know, I knew it was happening with Machine Gun Kelly when we started going to his shows, and his fans started showing up wearing Young and Reckless. I was like, oh, this is working, right? Like they're wanting to dress like him. And
what year is this?
This is 2010, 11 maybe.
Okay, so you got through the recession.
Yeah, I started right at the tail end of it. I essentially started it it was 2009. So right in it.
Dude.
So we had nothing to lose, right?
Wow. Crazy, man. Who's buying t-shirts in 2009?
I know, man. I know. And I think that also, you want me to tell you what else is? I think we came in at a time when a lot of brands were getting cleared out. There are these other big brands that are now having trouble. They're shutting down doors and, you know, stopping distribution and whatever. And we're the
Young and Reckless.
Yeah, we are.
This is the time to be Young and Reckless right now when you got no money.
There you go. And so it worked. Finally, it worked. We did all this marketing, we did all this stuff. It finally started working. And I'm going to be honest, one of my proudest days early on in Young and Reckless was I was at a concert in LA at Staples Center, and there was a kid walking through with a Young and Reckless shirt on. And keep in mind, I had been on TV for quite a while. And I walked up to the kid being a little bit of a jerk. And I said, hey man, nice shirt. Thinking he'd be like, oh, and he goes, thanks, dude. And I'm like, yes, somebody's wearing it that has no idea who I am. Like this is becoming just a brand. And that was
that's
my
awesome,
proudest day. So the point was this. To answer your question, I'm sorry I'm rambling.
No, dude, it's awesome because I mean, what you guys are about to hear is because he told me beforehand is I can't wait till you talk about when the retail collapses and that go ahead.
Yeah. So we go. So the whole strategy at that time is go meet with retailers. You carry all the big bags of all your samples. You sell them on why this is the coolest clothing line in the world. You show them all the marketing that you're doing, and you hope and pray that they give you a test order. Like you go to Macy's, you do that. You go to Dillard's.
And how do you just walk into the Macy's that you're in?
Yeah, if you,
like
you
in
know,
LA.
At that point, at that point, what you do is once you start building some steam, you hire a salesperson.
Okay.
And there are people that have done sales for similar brands in the past, and so they know the buyer at Macy's.
Okay, got it.
So we brought on a sales guy, and we went, and you fly to New York, and you meet with Macy's, and it's the coolest thing, right? It's like, this is so crazy. And then they say, all right, well, we'll start with a 20-door test, and you're like, oh my God, like Macy's, just agree. You know what I mean? It's a crazy feeling. And then you go, and then fast forward 4 months.
Dude, you seem like you got like a Lucky Charm or something running around with you. You've never auditioned for a TV show, have you?
No.
Like you walk in. You blow out of Akron, go to LA, guy says, hey, you want to be my assistant?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you get on a reality show for how many years?
9 or 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you're like, hey, I'm going to walk into Macy's, pitch a deal. Yeah, I'll take 20.
Sure. I mean, of course I'm giving you
No, but I mean like where does everybody have that?
I really think so, man.
Huh?
I really think so.
Yeah.
I really do. I really think that and don't get me wrong, we'll get into some of the down times, but my greatest, I think, through line in all this and all the successful things is finding I was always humble, quiet, and just learned what's going on. Like if I moved here and I met you, I'd come hang out, I'd do whatever you wanted. I'd help out anywhere around. I am nothing special. Even today, I would, what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would see what's going on and really observe and try to find
proximity.
an opportunity to actually add some value.
Yeah, so you get close to people that are winning.
Yeah, and I think that you do that, and then you actually see how can I
add value.
Shut up and help, and then how can you add some value? And don't try to come in and
get something.
Yeah, come in and get something, and don't also sit there and just sweep the floors all day. Find an in.
Right.
And I think that that's what I always did pretty well.
Yeah.
And
that's why you get the Lucky Charm effect.
For sure.
Yeah.
And like I said, we'll talk about some of the unlucky ones. Well, that's what's coming is so you go around, you go to all these stores, and slowly you build it. And then, like I said with Macy's, for instance, they call 6 months later, by the time they get the product, get some selling, whatever, and they say, you know what, it's selling pretty well. We'd like to take it to 75 doors. And you're like, yes, right? So you're doing that with 7 different retailers.
Now you're starting to ball in LA. You're starting to a little bit pay for stuff.
Yeah, I bought a Lamborghini at 26.
Wow.
You sure did.
Come on, dude.
I bought a Rolls Royce Ghost at 20.
Oh my God.
8. Yeah.
I know where this goes.
I've done my balling, man. And don't get me wrong, I still have plenty of balling to do. I'm not going to act all high and mighty, but I was.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. For sure. All my rapper dreams when I was a young kid.
Wow.
That's
do you
the first
regret
thing.
any of that?
No, not one bit.
Okay.
I love all of it.
Okay.
I just think that, I've kind of leveled.
Yeah.
What is it? Don't get me wrong, I would still do all that stuff. But I just think it was really important to me to show
skaters
everyone
had to hate you in a Rolls.
Hated me. But
you're like the Antichrist.
Yeah.
In a Ghost.
Yeah. I mean, my friend, Mikey and them, Mikey Taylor and them, they loved it.
Yeah.
But the younger skater
hardcore,
guys.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But the point is, I guess what I was saying is it was really important for me at that age, at that time, to just show by any means necessary that I was successful. And I hate to say it, but it was really important to me that other people knew I was successful. And that's something that'll bury you. You know what I mean? That's something that'll drive you down a bad hole. So that's what has changed. I still like to have fun. I still like to, celebrate the wins, but I don't care as much about that. Now I care more about trying to add some value. But the point is, so you're building it up, you're doing all these growing in all these retailers. It's a game of shelf space. It's a game of building relationships in shelf space, and you slowly every year add revenue and add retailers. And then, one day you kind of sit on top of it. You can never be complacent, but you do get to sit and be like, man, we've built a, $50 million business, and we're pretty locked in here as long as we keep doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. Well, around 2014, you start to hear this retail thing is having some trouble.
Macy's,
yeah,
Saks,
just mall traffic.
Mall traffic.
People just aren't going to malls, and e-com's cranking away, and obviously just building. And then
Little Amazon rumbles.
Yeah, you just feel it. You know, I think now I would hopefully know it a little earlier, but at that time you just feel the rumble.
Yeah.
And then 2015, PacSun, who was one of our biggest retailers, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And God bless them, they've done an incredible job. We still have a great relationship with them. So I want to be clear that they've done an amazing job and now are back on top, right?
Yeah.
But the point is,
they went through their time.
Just saying, when that happens and when Macy's is returning orders and Dillard's stops making orders and you're like, oh crap, like this happens fast. This happens real fast.
Yeah.
And, you know, for us, I think that our greatest benefit in that thing was we got really aggressive right before we had to, meaning we cut back instantly, we cut spending, we unfortunately...
Who's making these decisions for you? Is it you? Is it a team?
It's mainly me. It's me. I have me, my business partner.
Guy's a genius, man.
Stop it.
I got a genius
Stop
right
it.
here.
Stop it.
Dude, I get a lot of guys in here that have success, but very few times are they geniuses. Fucking guy's a genius, man.
Stop it. So I have an incredible business partner who's mainly like the one guy who's my right-hand guy. And then his brother is like our CFO. And they're really smart guys. So don't get me wrong, I'm not by myself.
But avoiding accidents, dude. Like knowing, hey, you know, there's a collision here. Just avoiding losses is a major genius move.
Well,
of entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Thank
you. I don't
know about the ghost in the Lambo, dude, but I know my wife and I talk about it all the time. Hey, what did we avoid this month?
Yeah. That's good. That's a good
things
practice.
That did not happen to us.
Yeah. That's a good practice.
Yeah.
So here's the bad thing. You know, at that point I'm 28 years old. Building a clothing line is really fun. Meaning, if it's working, meaning you have the nice cars, you're coming to Miami, going to nightclubs all the time.
Yeah.
Your marketing people especially are always your best friends, right? They're so cool and you're just out and you're popping bottles and you're like, it's very similar to, I'm guessing what signing a record deal feels like. And that's great. And when the money's rolling in, that's a great experience.
How much money was coming in at the time?
I mean millions, you know. Millions
how often? Millions. Is this like monthly, weekly?
Months, every couple months.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say, you know,
so that's big. That's big money.
Yeah, 20, you know, I'm a 26-year-old guy.
Yeah.
And then also you have to sprinkle on top of it that at the time I had just been on a TV show for 9 years. So it's magnified because even though I'm not known for being a great businessman, it feels like that's what's happening. You know, and sure, people know me. Like my things started to change as like, oh, the guy from the show started that brand.
Yeah.
That's cool, you know? But like at the time, it feels like you're the world's greatest entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because people are recognizing you, money's coming in, you're like, what? Anyway, here's the point. You have this team, it's really fun. When stuff slows down, you have to go to those great friends of yours who didn't really do anything wrong and tell them that there's no job there anymore. And not because of anything they did. The market just changed.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing to do day after day after day. And I think at, like I said, 28 years old, it got rough for me just because I think, you know, there were a lot of lessons that I didn't learn. There was some, you know, I was never like an arrogant guy or none of that, but like, of course, you think you're a little smarter than you are. You think you're a little cooler than you are. And
some of that there's no textbook for either. Like, I mean.
No. And I've learned, but that's one of my biggest sort of journeys now is trying to learn. There's tools. Yeah. There's not a textbook, but there is tools for like, you know, just centering yourself and checking yourself and checks and balances and even things like, you know, meditation and stuff like that to just working out, just centering, being a little bit more centered, not going off on this wave of win or loss.
Yeah, but meditation wasn't going to change the fact that Macy's is like,
no,
dude, it's going.
No, nothing's going to change that.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I mean. For 2000, like those contractions, like when machine industry stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just how I dealt
with
over. It's how I dealt with it.
And I love this. I love how you pivoted.
And that's what I was saying. The only part I was mentioning there is how I didn't deal with it the best. I was bummed. It felt like every day for a year was bad news, some new catastrophic bad news.
Probably was.
And I was walking in and having to let go of someone or cut something or whatever. And it rocked me, man. It was like a very dark year for me. But that being said, we got out in front of it. We made the changes. And we've replaced the people that we had to let go with people that understood e-commerce and people that understood growth and you know, Facebook growth, Google, all that stuff. And I really just dug in there and learned a new way of distributing and marketing a clothing line. And it's a totally different, you know, at the end of the day, you're still making clothes, you're still trying to make clothes cool and hype up what you're doing. But the entire way that you build that the whole distribution, the whole thing of going to Macy's and hoping you get 10 more doors is gone.
Yeah.
It just, for us, it just doesn't matter right now. So you're learning a different thing. You're learning return on ad spend.
Like you think retail's just, you think it's over then?
No, I don't think it's over. I just think that.
But you're not calling on Macy's today.
Well, we're still in Macy's. I love them. But the point is, I don't see, for us, for a brand like ours, I don't see a massive growth strategy at a place like Macy's.
Right.
I see it like hang out and see what happens, you know? And
you know, I mean, just as we sit here and talk, you know, the stock market's off 700 and Amazon's up. Like Amazon stock is literally like fighting the downward trend of the.
And if you check some of those retailer stocks, I bet
they're all getting crushed.
Exactly. So I think something's going to happen there. I don't know what it is. Do I think people are going to no longer leave their house and just have VR headsets on and be ordering off of Amazon? I don't think so. But it's not going to be what it is today. I think every retailer today, for the most part, should cut their door count in half. Might as well, right? Get in front of it and figure out what's going on. I think there's going to be a long, slow tumble of a lot of big retailers and a lot of people that we grew up with and have been staples in.
Dude, guy talks like he's been around business for like 100 years.
Stop it.
Dude, why aren't
You're
you
too nice to me,
dude,
man.
why aren't you wearing a Young and Restless shirt? I'm
going to tell you because I only brought one good one.
Yeah.
And I got to go out to our big party tonight and I didn't want to blow it out.
You think you got a bigger audience tonight than today?
I don't, but I also don't.
Damn.
No.
That hurts. Fucking hurts, huh? Does that hurt, guys?
It's not about
hurts
audience.
A little bit, okay? Who's the chick on your forearm, dude?
It's really to be honest, it's no one that I know.
Because man,
it's like a Mexican pinup girl.
That I was in San Diego.
Really?
I would say, man, that's her for sure.
There you go. That might be her.
She was unbelievable.
It's when I went out to LA, this is Mr. Cartoon, who's like a really well-known Latin tattoo artist, and this is like his classic Mexican pinup girl.
Okay.
But now, you know, I didn't think
maybe everybody knows her.
That's possible.
So what's next for you, man? What goes on next?
I
love what you're doing in your podcast. Let's talk about your podcast and then what's next for you.
Yeah, I'm big on that. My podcast it's called Short Story Long, and like I told you, like I had done TV for a long time, but I didn't like doing TV. It's also was like, this is one thing to keep in mind is like, we were messing around and having fun and sure that there was some time to market our brands, but like, I was the sidekick. Like I wasn't like this amazing star, right? And so I think what happens is you're spending a lot of time making a lot of really cool content, but it doesn't align with the thing that you really care about. And so I would go out and sure, people would come up to me and be like, hey, drama, it's so crazy, man, what's up? But they're not talking about anything that you really connect with. It's like, what happened when the dog like fell in the pool? Like that was crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. And like it starts to almost get like burdensome.
So 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, and it just like feels like a burden, which I hate to see.
Yeah.
Because it's love.
So some of the good things can actually be
for sure.
Like feel like a liability to you.
For sure. And that's why I think that people who are famous for doing what they love and putting out something they love are some of the luckiest people in the world. People who are famous for something they don't actually care about, it's a curse on your life. I mean, I think it's really bad if you're like a superstar that doesn't connect with what you're doing. Anyway, the point is, so people are recognizing me, that's all good, but I'm not connecting with what they're connecting to. So TV ends, which I was happy about. I took about 2 years of just kind of regrouping, like, I don't want to be on TV, I don't want to be on camera, I don't want to do anything for a little bit. And then finally I got the itch again to like, just connect with people, build an audience, like put out something. I love just putting stuff out and seeing how people react. And I think that, you know, I dug deep on like, well, what even am I? At the core of me, what am I? I'm not an athlete. I'm not even a clothing designer. I'm a guy, you know, like I'm not going to put out a podcast about clothing design. I left 3 episodes.
Right.
I'm a guy from Akron, Ohio, who skipped college, came out, was scrappy, paid attention, and made my dreams come true. And so I want to talk to other people.
Everybody wants to wear that t-shirt, dude.
Everyone.
Everybody.
Right? And I think this is the thing, like, I've been so lucky, and I have found a life that is so far beyond working at a skate shop and living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Studio City that I never even thought was possible for me. And so I try to bottle up what made that happen, and I try to talk to other people who have done similar things, right? We both know a lot of really cool, impressive, self-made people. And I want to bottle that up, and I want to talk to them, and I want to show the listener. I really try. I think that sometimes I get a different level of conversation from people because they know that I'm not just a journalist. And so I want to make them sound human. I want to tell their story. I want you to really be able to connect with someone like Kyrie Irving or Jeff Curl, the founder of Stan Socks, or these people, and say, damn, I could do that.
Yeah.
Like this point in their story feels kind of like my point in my story right now, and I could really go do what he or she did.
That's awesome.
And that's why I wanted to bottle up. And so that's what I started. Podcast was the
short
easiest way.
Stories.
Short story long.
Why'd you call it that?
I tend to ramble, as you can tell here. And when I do, I say long story short, blah, 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 long story short. So this was everyone's chance to ramble. So short story long.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's what I do. I package that up, and the reason I chose a podcast is because there's no rules. You could start scrappy, you could suck at it at first and just put it out and learn. And that's what I did. Now it's been 2 years, and I'm really kind of cruising. And now people come up to me.
You got sponsors on that?
I just started.
Okay.
Just started. I'm just trying to figure it out.
I don't have any sponsors. So.
I did it for a long time just on like, look, I'm doing all right, and I'm just thankful, and here's some free information for the crew. But now it's getting to the point where it's like I could start to build up the staff and what I'm doing if I brought in some revenue from it. But the point was, podcasting was such an easy barrier to entry. I could get into it, and now 2 years in, people come up to me now, and they say like, "Man, episode 50 changed my life." Or like that thing where you said, and that feeling is incredible because that makes you want to go back to work and work twice as hard.
Yeah, and help people.
Yeah, so that's what I'm.
Dude, it's awesome what you're doing, man.
Thank you, man.
To me, I'm twice your age, so the chance that a guy could be 30 years old out helping people the way you are right now, this was my dream when I was 30. I wanted to help people because I wanted to help myself.
Yep.
And had a drug problem, had all these problems in my life. Overcame. I'm like, other people can do this. When I meet a guy like you, that's like, you're the American dream, dude.
Thank you, man.
You are. I mean, Akron, Ohio. I mean,
you too, man. That's why everyone. That's why.
And every time I'm around a guy like you, it inspires me. It's like watching the guy fly private. And I'm like, who is that dude?
That's what I'm doing now.
And what did he do?
Yeah.
What did he do? How did he get there? I've just always been moved by that.
Yep.
And when a guy like you makes it out, however he does it. So that comment about you having the lucky charm, I've never felt lucky. I've always wondered, guys that look lucky, what are they doing to get lucky?
Yeah.
So going forward, how do you keep duplicating this? Where do you see yourself going over the next?
I think it's, to be honest, I really believe in what's gotten me here, which is don't ever get too ahead of yourself. Be humble, pay attention, learn. You have so much to learn. I have so much to learn from someone like you, and I'm so lucky that I'm even invited into this. And I truly mean that. That's not some BS, I'm so lucky to be here. Honestly, man, this stuff has allowed me access to people and knowledge and brains and experience that's way beyond what some kid from Akron should be invited into. So pay attention, learn, stay hungry. Don't ever get too far ahead of yourself. And always, when you feel that resistance, push through that. Because that is the path. That's a marker for the path.
Dude, awesome, dude. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
One last thing.
Yep.
What does 10X mean to you? If I say to you the term 10X.
Well, for me, when I saw it, because like I said, I've been driving myself crazy over this e-com growth, right? It's, my biggest thing is how do I create content and stuff that I can turn into ads and drive revenue? And so when I see 10X, I naturally go to how can you create content around what you're doing that can dramatically multiply your awareness and your engagement.
Dude, I love that. It's multiplication. Okay. Hey, follow his, jump on his podcast, Short Stories Long.
Short Story Long, yep.
Grab his Young and Restless t-shirts.
Reckless, come on.
What did I say?
You said restless.
Oh,
you made
Young
me
and
soap
Reckless.
opera.
Young and Restless. Because you know what? My wife was on Young and Restless.
Was she?
Yeah, she was on.
So
I'm competing.
I'm used to that.
Okay, my wife's on Young and Restless.
Yeah.
So Michelle Stafford, she's a friend of mine. She was on Young and Restless.
There you go.
Young and Reckless t-shirts, which he didn't bring me one, by the way.
I'm going to send you a
I'm
whole
hurt,
box.
dude.
Listen, number one.
But dude, I need a little 10X branded on the Young and Reckless.
Let's do a collab.
I like that.
Let's do a 10X Young and Reckless.
I got 35,000 people showing up in Miami for a conference in February. 35,000.
We can print shirts by then. Come on.
Dude,
There we go. A deal that's how deals get made, guys.
Dude, 35,000. How many t-shirts do you think you could sell there? 35,000 people. I have them for 3 days. And these people will do almost anything I tell them to do.
10,000.
Do you think so?
I do. 10,000 units? You have 35,000 of people that...
35,000 all paid to be there.
That you're teaching how... Here's the thing. This is where a lot of people go
Steve
wrong.
Harvey will be there.
Yep.
John Maxwell. Who do I have? Ty Lopez, Ryan Dice. I mean, it's 3 days of education.
That's good. I'd love to learn how you're doing that type of thing. I'd love
35,000,
huh? I'd love to do something like that in the future.
Biggest entrepreneur conference ever held on planet Earth.
Jesus. Okay, listen, here's the trick, and this is a good lesson.
Yeah, let's learn
a lot of people think I have 35,000 people coming. They'll probably buy it. The trick is if you can actually bottle up in clothing a little bit of that something that makes them feel inspired about you, whether it's the wording on the shirts or how we design it, you could sell 10,000 units.
Yeah, it needs to be 10x because these people are coming for 10x.
Yeah, but there you go.
These people are maniacs too, dude.
I love it. I love it. You know what's funny is like I've learned that if you're into like drugs, you'll find a lot of people that tell you a lot about drugs and will do drugs with you and whatever, right?
Yeah.
If you're into skateboarding, same thing. If you're into like finding some tools and bettering yourself and learning, this might sound kind of cheesy, but you'll find a whole community of people that are too.
Totally.
And I feel like that's becoming more popular than ever with social media.
And some of them are going to be drug addicts and some of them are going to be skateboarders.
But everyone's looking for the same thing.
Dude, but everybody's got to pay bills.
A way forward, yeah.
Lambo, he beat me on the Lambo. I don't have a supercar, man.
You don't? That's not your Rolls Royce out front?
That's my Rolls, man. I don't call that a supercar.
That's not a supercar, you're right.
You know.
That's a race?
You know, I just saw Jay-Z. It's getting ready to go back, by the way.
What's coming in?
Another one.
Okay.
And then in a black Cullinan I'm giving to my wife. But
what's that?
It's the Rolls SUV.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I read Jay-Z said today, he said, look, I owned all the 12-cylinder cars you can buy, and I regret it. Okay. Hey, man, thank you so much, dude. We should do this again. When I come to LA, I'll pop in on yours.
I would love to.
Okay.
It'd be an honor.
Hey, guys, get on his podcast. Short stories long. Get his t-shirts. Young and reckless. And 10x your game. $10 million to put on this event. Somewhere around $10 million. Probably over that. I just don't want to admit it.
No one fills up a stadium with 35,000 people for personal development.
They're not only coming back, it's growing.
So to be here and to be able to listen to several, you're going to get so much information.
And I think what Grant Cardone has done maybe better than any person in the world is he has empowered people. He's 10x them.
The fact that Grant is around all these people, I know he's doing something right.
We just came from Poland, from Romania.
Coming all the way from Israel.
I'm from Italy. We are very excited to see Grant Cardone. I've been following Grant for about 6 months, and it's been the craziest 6 months of my life. Ever since I started following Grant, my money's doubled.
We've had 300% growth in our business.
In 1 year, we've increased our sales by $250,000.
A few years ago, I was in a car accident. I hit a tree at 120 miles an hour. I woke up not knowing 10 years of my life, so I was lost. I went from just being a leasing consultant with a $25,000 income, now I'm making 6 figures, and it wouldn't have been possible without Grant Cardone.
Something's really wrong with Grant. He's so crazy, man, but his craziness is so compelling. I'm attracted to crazy people because in order to be successful, it's got to be something wrong with you.
It's possible to live your dream if you work hard, if you're consistent, if you follow the Cardones.
But you can no longer afford to play small, to think small, or to act small.
So you guys could leave here and say, I just went to the best conference I've ever been to.